Hello, welcome to our video series. In this video, we will learn about how to create shapes more easily. We have seen that we can use marquee tools to create variety of shapes, remove some parts or add some parts to those shapes and etc. But there is another and easier way to create shapes in Photoshop. And very obviously, it is called Shape Tool. And as always, open the PSD file I have provided you in the description for you to follow along with the video. Now, like the previous videos, I have some examples on the left side of the canvas and some guides on the right side to practice. And you can see that we have a range of effects applied to the example shapes on the left. And when you look at the layers panel, you can see all the shapes are in their own layer, and more interestingly, the thumbnails of the shape layers have a different icon. I have talked about it earlier as well. These are vector images, and more specifically, paths have been used to create these layers, and the icon represents the path. The significance of this icon is that these layers will not pixelate on extreme scaling up and down. We'll learn more about paths later in the chapter videos. Now we have already talked how to create shapes with the marquee tool. So I will not go into the basics of it, and we will directly create shapes on our practice area. But before getting into creating shapes, there is one more tool you need to know about. It's called the path selection tool. In order for us to edit a shape layer, we will need path selection tool. It is located just below the type tool and is shaped as an arrow. When you right click on the tools icon, you can see two different types of tools, one with a black arrow, another with a white arrow. Right now, we are interested in the path selection tool, that is the black arrow. Upon activating the path selection tool, the mouse pointer will become like a regular black mouse pointer arrow. Anyway, with the path selection tool active and the shape layer you are about to select is active, click on the shape and you can see that a thin bounding box appears around the shape with 4 tiny squares. Similarly do for the rounded square and we can see 8 tiny squares. Similarly for the circle, for the triangle as well. But when you select the custom shape at the bottom of the canvas, you can see a lot of tiny squares. We will see why later in the video. Now let's move ahead to create the shapes. Select the shape tool which is located just below the path selection tool, and most probably you will see a rectangle as its icon if you have not changed it before. And even if you have, no worries, right click on the shape tool and select the rectangular shape tool for now. And let's move to the guide on the practice area to create the squares we see. Like we did with the marquee tools, click and hold on the top left corner of the square guide with the rectangular shape tool active and slowly drag to the opposite corner of the square guide. You can see the thin outline that we are creating in the shape of the rectangle. And as you might have guessed, this will be the shape of our rectangle if we release the click at this moment. And we can use the shift key to create a perfect square. And we can also use the spacebar key in combination while still holding the click. We can move the shape to another location if it desires so. Anyway, move the mouse to the opposite corner of the guide and release the click to create your shape over the guide. Now as soon as we release the click, the shape is created and so is the new layer corresponding to the newly created shape. And with this, a variety of options become available to use on the control panel above. For the first layer, we will tweak the fill color. Choose a color you like and let's move to the next shape. Now here, I would like you to change the shape tool. Right click on the shape tool icon on the toolbar and select the rounded rectangle tool. Now there is a new option available in the control panel called radius. And this is obviously the radius of the round in the rounded rectangle tool. You can type in different values to experiment with it, but as I have created this myself, I know the value I need to go for the guide. So I will type in 50 pixel in the radius. You take your time and experiment with different values. And if you are satisfied with the value other than 50, you can ignore the guide and go with that value as well. As a designer, we should have this much creative liberty. Now go to the guide and create a rounded rectangle. Okay, now back to the control panel. Let's change the fill color of the layer. Now there is an option called stroke beside the fill. Currently you see a red diagonal line, which means no stroke. Let's change it. As soon as you choose a color, you can see that the shape has an outline now. And we have several options to tweak this outline as well. Just beside this stroke color, there is an option for stroke width. Change it, see what happens. For this shape, I will go with the value 15. See, Now let's move ahead to the next shape tool. That's ellipse tool. Select the ellipse tool from the toolbar under the shape tools and move to the guide to create the circle. Use the combination of shift and spacebar to create a perfect circle and position it over the guide as accurately as possible. As soon as we create the square, we see the same earlier stroke appear here as well. Let's not be monotonous and change the way this stroke looks. Change the color and size of the stroke as you like. Now going further right on the control bar, just after the stroke width, you can see an option for stroke type. Click on it and choose any of the option you like. And there are 3 more options at the bottom of the stroke type drop down menu. Click on the align and choose the first option. This option puts the stroke over inside the shape. And the other 2 options in this menu puts it on the boundary or outside the shape altogether. Now, let's move to the next shape tool, that is polygonal tool. Like the rounded rectangle tool, we have some extra options in this tool as well, like number of sides a polygon should have. We saw a triangle on the example side square. Square is already there on the top, so let's create a pentagon, means side equals to 5. Ignore the guide for this one and draw the shape. We can change the orientation and size of the shape with the free transform tool. Now change the stroke type to solid line, align to outside and corners to rounded, and change the fill and stroke color if you like. Moving to our next shape tool, line tool. It's really simple. Click and stretch and hold shift if you want a straight horizontal, vertical or line at an angle of 45 degree. Change the fill color to as you like and stroke to none. Next is custom shape tool. Now like all the geometric shapes, Photoshop gives us the option to create some custom non-geometric shapes as well. But it's all predefined and we can choose from the list of shapes available to us from the control panel here. In the drop down menu, there's a cogwheel on the top right corner. Click on it and choose banners and awards and click OK. Now select the trophy shape and create a shape over the trophy guide on the canvas. You can use the shift key to retain the original ratio of the shape if you wish. Now choose the fill to none and stroke to some color with width of 10 pixels. Here we created a transparent layer with only stroke. Now for the next custom shape, reveal the drop down menu, click on the cog and select animals and click OK. Now click on the cat shape and draw the cat over the guide. Now change the stroke to none and change the fill color. Look closely at the top of the menu and choose the third option, which is a gradient. Choose an appropriate gradient. You can also tweak this gradient if you like from here. So that's all for the shape tool and their customization. Keep practicing with all the options available to you and experiment with the combinations of them to create a fantastic shape. See you in the next video.